If you're over 50 and single, I'd be willing to bet you've said at least one of these things in the last year. There's nobody out there. This is a terrible place to date. There's nothing but scammers online. Now, if any of those sound familiar, I get it. I've been single for 16 years. I've heard every version of every complaint from every city, every dating app, and every frustrated person who's ready to throw in the towel. And here's the part that might be hard to hear. The problem isn't where you live. It isn't the apps. And it isn't that all the good ones are taken. Stay with me on this, because what I'm about to walk you through could be the reason everything you've tried hasn't worked yet. I used to live in Kansas City, and while I was there, a couple of national articles came out listing KC as one of the top 10 worst places to date in America. And the author had never even been there. But it didn't matter. That story spread, and suddenly every single person in Kansas City had a built-in excuse for why dating wasn't working. Here's the thing. I hear that same complaint from people in Dallas, Denver, Minneapolis, Atlanta, and everywhere in between. It's never the right city. It's never the right app. There's always a reason it's harder here than it is somewhere else. But if that belief follows you everywhere, it's probably not the zip code. There's something your brain does that most people have never heard of. It's called the Reticular Activating System. You don't need to remember the name. You just need to understand what it does. Think of your brain like a bouncer at a nightclub. It only lets in the information that matches the guest list you've already given it. Whatever you believe, your brain goes looking for. You've probably heard this called confirmation bias. Same idea. Your brain isn't searching for the truth. It's searching for proof that you're right. Here's how that plays out in your dating life. If you believe this is a terrible place to date, your brain will actively find proof. Every bad date, every ghosted conversation, every friend who says, "I've given up," becomes evidence that you're right. The good people, the promising connections, the moments that could have led somewhere, your brain filters those out because they don't match the story you've already told yourself. If you believe there's nothing but scammers online, the same thing happens. Every suspicious profile confirms that belief. And here's the part most people don't realize. That belief might actually be shaping how you show up online in ways that attract the exact outcome you're trying to avoid. And this doesn't just play out in your head. It shows up in how you actually behave online. Think about that one for a second. If you've already decided that online dating is a waste of time, how does that show up in your profile, in your photos, in the way you answer questions or write your bio? Are you putting your best self forward, or are you half-heartedly going through the motions because you've already decided it doesn't work? Now, consider this. Somewhere between 30 and 40% of all relationships start online. That's not a small number. That means millions of real people are meeting real partners through the same apps you're calling a scam. So either all of those people are scammers, meeting scammers, or something else is going on. What if the problem isn't the platform? What if it's the version of yourself you're bringing to it? Let me take this a step further. Let's say you decided tomorrow that your city actually is a great place to meet someone. What would change? You'd probably start looking at your daily routine differently. You'd notice the coffee shop where people linger, the hiking group that meets on Saturday mornings, the volunteer organization you've been meaning to check out, the bookstore event you scrolled past. Those opportunities were always there. You just weren't looking for them because your brain had already decided they didn't exist. Now, let's take it one step further. If you've done the work on identifying your must-haves, if you know what generally matters to you in a partner, that list becomes a compass. It tells you where to look. Ask yourself, where would the person I'm looking for actually spend their time? What would they be doing on a weekend? What kind of interest would they have? What communities would they be a part of? When you get specific about what you're looking for, you stop wandering and start navigating. You stop hoping to stumble into the right person and start putting yourself in the rooms where that person is most likely to be. Here's what all this comes down to. The people I've worked with who have found love after 50 didn't find it because they moved to a better city or found a better app. They found it because they changed how they showed up. They rewrote the story they were telling themselves. They stopped letting old beliefs filter out good people, and they got intentional about where they looked and how they presented themselves. That shift isn't dramatic. It's not a complete life overhaul, but it changes everything. It changes how you write your dating profile. It changes which photos you choose. It changes how you respond to messages. It changes whether you walk into a room expecting disappointment or expect possibility. And people can feel that difference. The right people are drawn to someone who shows up with clarity and confidence. The wrong people tend to move on. That's not luck. That's what happens when you stop telling your brain to look for reasons it won't work and start telling it to look for reasons it can. So, here's my challenge to you. If you've been telling yourself you've tried everything, I'd ask you to reconsider. You may have tried the same thing multiple times. You may have tried the right things with the wrong mindset. Or you may have been so focused on what's not working that your brain stopped showing you what could. Something has to change, and that something starts with you. If you're not sure what's actually standing between you and the relationship you want, I built a short quiz to help you figure that out. It's called What's Really Standing Between You and the Relationship You Deserve. It takes about 5 minutes, and it'll show you exactly where to focus first. It's free, and the link is in the description below. If this hit home, subscribe. In my next video, I'm going to show you why dating over 60 might actually be easier than you think. That's not clickbait. I mean it. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And drop a comment. I want to know, what's the story you've been telling yourself about dating? Is it still serving you? I read every comment. I'll see you in the next video.